Hey, everybody, welcome back to the stories that shape us. Before we jump in, I just want to take a moment to say thank you. Thank you to everyone who has tuned in over the past month. Tuesday, April 1st has officially wrapped up our first month of podcasting, and I couldn't be more grateful for all of the support, messages, and feedback that I have received from the community along the way. And I'm just getting started. This has been such a fun journey so far, and trust me, we are just getting started. If you've got a story that you think needs to be heard, don't hesitate, reach out. I'd love to have you on and continue sharing the stories that shape us all. So, today marks episode 6 as we continue in the podcasting journey together. We're diving into a powerful story of resilience, brotherhood, and purpose. A veteran's story isn't just about the battles fought in combat, it's about what comes after. It's about overcoming adversity, leaning on brotherhood, and finding a new mission beyond the battlefield. Our guest today, Sergeant Montana Reynolds, has lived that journey in a way few can truly understand. Montana has spent a decade in the Army serving in Special Forces with the 82nd Airborne. He was part of the mission to liberate Mosul from ISIS in 2017, a battle that changed the course of his life and history. During his service, he suffered a devastating injury that caused him to lose eyesight in his right eye during combat. But instead of letting that moment define him, Montana carved out a new path, focused on helping others find their way back. After leaving the Army in 2017, he spent years mentoring the youth at the Montana Youth Challenge Academy, then dedicated himself to supporting disabled veterans through Project Healing Waters fly fishing, helping those struggling with physical and emotional wounds and to help them reconnect with the civilian life. And now, Montana has taken on an entirely new challenge, Rodeo. Yay, yay. In today's episode, we're talking about Montana's time in the military, the brotherhood that he built, the battles he fought, and how he has turned his experiences into a mission to help veterans find healing and purpose. Every step of the way, he has become a mentor, especially at the Montana Youth Challenge Academy, where he built new brotherhood with teenagers who were headed down the wrong path. His journey of guiding these young individuals to a better future mirrors the same resilience and leadership that he learned in the Army. This is a conversation about grit, determination, service, and the road back from war, as well as the power of mentorship. You're not going to want to miss this one. So, without further ado, Montana, welcome to the show, man. I'm happy you're here.
Hey, thanks for having me, brother.
Well, let's just jump right into it. What made you want to serve in the Army? What drew you to the Army?
Well, I was in 7th grade when 9/11 happened. I remember, I was getting ready to go to school, and the news came on, and my mom said it's pretty crazy out there, and I just stayed home and we watched the news. And so, going through high school, I mean, the war was going on. I was having a lot of my friends join up, and by the time I graduated, I just felt, I didn't really think about anything else, and I just wanted to join. So yeah, I went to the recruiter's office one day, and within a week, I was on a plane.
Wow. Where did you go to basic?
The first time I went through basic training, I went through Fort Jackson, South Carolina. I went as a 63 Bravo all-wheel mechanic. I did my AIT there, and then I got stationed in Hawaii from 2008. I deployed in 2009 when I was 19 years old. And then I got back. I got out of Hawaii. I got back to California. I was in the National Guard for about a month. It wasn't for me. I missed it. I missed the brotherhood. I missed the mission. And the only way I get back is I took an 18 X-ray contract for Special Forces. So then I went to Fort Benning, Georgia for infantry training. And then I went through Airborne school. and then they shipped me up to North Carolina for SOPC, the Special Operations Preparation course. I was in that for a couple months, and then I went through selection for Special Forces. I snapped my leg, and then they just shipped me up the road to the 82nd, and I spent 6.5 years there.
At the 82nd Airborne. What was that like?
It it was intense. It was kind of funny because my first tour I deployed as a mechanic, and I was a wrecker operator, and I got hit by an IED, and so I was awarded a combat action badge, and a lot of infantrymen, they make fun of guys that have a combat action badge because as infantry you get a combat infantry badge. So a lot of these guys who've never been deployed before, they see my combat action badge, they're like, oh, what are you doing here, and but it was interesting because I was still learning a lot of the battle drills. I went through Ranger School when I was in Hawaii, so I knew quite a bit about infantry tactics, but the lifestyle was completely different. I mean, you spend weeks in the field together. I mean, no showers, barely any food. You're lugging around hundreds of pounds on your back, and you're running and all this other stuff. You're just sucking. You're in the rain. And the Brotherhood was just you just get close. I mean, you really know your buddies. But it's funny because you never know that you can go years with your best friend and never know his first name because we always go by our last name.
Yep. Yep. Sergeant Reynolds. All
Yep.
right. Well, now that we have talked a little bit about what you've got in you, but let's talk about the moments that have defined your service. You were part of a mission to liberate Iraq. Um, what was that experience like? What what happened? What went down?
Well, so what's funny is so my first tour we did route clearance, so we looked for IEDs all up and down MSR Tampa. So we were going into Mosul. We were based out of Camp Spiker, which is outside of Tikrit, and that was in 2009. So during my time back at in the States, ISIS became a thing back in 2014. And I mean, with just I think they only had about, I think they started off with like 1,600 dudes, and they just started taking over all of Iraq. Everywhere that, we lost a couple guys my first tour, and I mean, seeing everything that we worked hard for being completely taken over, really just kind of ticked you off. So when I was with the 82nd, we were getting ready to deploy, but my battalion was only sending one company, and I was in Bravo company at the time, and I just got my E5, and seeing all this just really ticks you off a little bit. And they're like, okay, so we went to JRTC down in Louisiana, Joint Readiness Training Center, and we're doing drills, and we're trying to compete on who's going to deploy, right? Well, Charlie Company got it, and they needed an E5, so I volunteered, and so I joined Charlie Company, and we deployed to Iraq. And then Bravo Company ended up going too, so that was kind of funny. But yeah, it's just you wanted to get there, you wanted to get that, you know what I mean? You wanted to get it back.
Absolutely. That's badass, man. But that's also heavy, right? The kind of brotherhood that's forged in moments like that is something that most people don't understand.
Oh yeah, I mean, they call it trauma bonding. I think is what they call.
I thought trauma bonding would have been in the gas chamber when you have to spout out.
We used to do combatives in the gas chamber. We used to fight each other.
That's crazy. How did your brotherhood shape your mindset moving forward with your deployment in Iraq?
You don't worry about yourself. You worry about the guys to the left and right of you. You don't care what happens to you. You're worried about your buddy.
I think that's something that you can carry over today too.
Absolutely.
I had a football coach always tell me, you're not playing for the name on the back of your jersey. You're playing for the name on the front, the
Yep.
school front. And I think that that's prevalent in the military, obviously, but can also be prevalent in everyday life.
Absolutely.
Wow. Wow. Montana, you've been through more than most people can ever imagine. You were part of a mission to liberate Mosul from fighting ISIS. And talk us about what once you got boots on the ground in Mosul in Iraq.
Well, it's it's kind of funny. So we originally we were sent to Camp Taji, and our mission there was just QRF, so Quick Reaction Force. We were the only infantry battalion there, company there. We had the New Zealand Army, we had the Australian Army, we had a bunch of support units there. So our mission was if they got attacked, our mission was to react and protect the base. Right? We had a couple rocket attacks, nothing crazy. So our mission initially was advise and assist. We were supposed to train the IA, the Iraqi army, to fight ISIS, but it wasn't going so hot. And our colonel at the time, his name was Colonel Work. He was retiring after that, so he wanted to be known to finish ISIS, right? So he sent Bravo Company and a platoon of Charlie Company, my platoon. They sent us up to Mosul and kind of speed things up. I mean, we ended up doing a lot of boots on the ground, like in the city. We were as we thought ISIS was going to hold up in the mosque down by the river in Old Town, but they were actually holding up in the hospital because it was really fortified. And we would just and every day we were pushing closer and closer and closer, and the refugees were following behind us to get back into their homes. So I mean, yeah, I just we got in there.
That's awesome. How many people are in a company or platoon?
I'd say a platoon consists about 20 guys or
20
so.
guys. Wow. And how many ISIS members were there?
Oh hell, there was a lot. I couldn't tell you, especially after we started dropping artillery on them. There was a lot less there when we left than when we got there.
You know that Queen song, Another One Bites the Dust?
Yeah.
Bum, bum, bum. Another one bites the dust. Yeah, that's awesome. However, you suffered a injury that had changed your life forever and eventually caused you to medically retire. Can you walk us through what happened that day, if that's okay with you?
Well, everyone's asking me how's retired life, and I go, well, I may walk into a door every now and then, but I got to retire halfway through. The hardest part was, well, I was bedridden for a while there. It was just hard adjusting, especially it was my dominant eye and that was my shooting eye, you know. And usually in the infantry, if you can't shoot, I mean, they send you to the S shop, so you're working behind a desk, and I didn't want to do that. So I spent a lot of time. I was the guy in the back of the company. I had my rifle and I had my kit on, and I'd practice transitions and mag chains on my left side, and I got teased a lot for it. And I'll tell you what, my first jump out of an airplane with my bad eye I thought it was hilarious. It was scary, but it was hilarious. We were jumping left side. So, you want to keep your static line. The static line is the most dangerous part of jumping out of a plane because it could wrap around your arm or around your neck or so. And so I figured, okay, if I keep my good eye on the jump master, I can hand off my static line to him. I won't get hurt. So we're shuffling, and we always jump at night. So I'm shuffling to the door. I hand it off, and when I turned, the door was over here. So I ran into the door. My leg and my rucksack got sucked out of the plane. I bounced off the side of the plane, and I landed. Like it hurt, but it's kind of funny.
That would be a
So then
sight to see.
so, I mean, hindsight's 50-50, right?
Literally. Hindsight is
But
50.
so from then on, I jumped off the right side so I could keep my eye on the door.
Man, I can't even begin to imagine what that moment was like. When did it sink in that you had lost your eye, and what was the hardest part of coming to terms with that?
It sank in when you feel that pop, and and my equilibrium was a little messed up, so I was throwing up a lot. And it was funny, why they were carrying me to the casualty collection point there. I was throwing up, so they sit me down, and my soldiers, the sergeant, oh, you were right, and I would open my eye up, and I'm like, am I looking at you? Because I was worried my eye was going to be looking that way, and it's all bloody. They're like, oh man. um, but yeah, I mean, honestly, after once I was able to start walking on my own and going to the bathroom on my own, and actually able to stand up, it sucked, but like there was hope that we could do some surgery. So I went in for surgery, and it turns out because they thought it was just a bunch of fiber that built over my eye and I couldn't see. Well, they cut all that out, and then it ended up now. It turns out my optic nerve is disconnected, and so So then I was like, well, crap, I guess there it is. And you just kind of, it is what it is, what it is. Adapt and overcome. You know what I mean?
Yep, embrace the suck.
Embrace the suck, brother.
That's something I've been told several times. Embrace the suck.
I pounded that into the cadets' heads.
I had a I had a wrestling coach in high school that would say to feel better once it quits hurting,
Yeah, right.
and that's always with me.
Yep.
But physically, how did you adapt back to? Because you had gotten dismissed after that point, right? Medically retired,
After
or,
that, yep.
and so how did you adapt to losing an eye? I mean, completely changing your depth perception, your
Well, I
balance. You
mean,
said,
everything's in 2D. It's like you're playing Mario World. You know what I mean? Everything's just like side scrolling. I mean, little things kind of bug you. Like I said, like I walk into doors every now and then. The other day when I was at the when I was at this bronc clinic, I was trying to screw in me and the instructor. We were trying to screw in this spur shelf onto my boot, and he gave me the drill, and I kept missing. You know, just little things like it just makes you mad, but you make a joke about it and you move on. You know.
"What's wrong with you, son? I can't
Yeah, well,
see."
I kept missing. I'm like, damn, one eye.
Well, hey, at least you've made light of the situation,
you
and
you have to
you
find the funny in everything, man.
exactly. A little bit more serious questions on a heavier note, I guess, transitioning. You strike me as the type of guy who doesn't let anything slow him down. As we were talking this week, just kind of leading up to this episode, you've seems like you've lived 5 different lives. But has there been any moments of frustration where times felt like the world was different or maybe it was pushed against you? And how'd you push
Oh,
through those times?
oh, 100%. I mean, especially when I first got out, because I planned on doing a full 20, and the army was the only life I really knew. It's what I understood, So when I got out, I mean, I got a new mission with the Montana Youth Challenge, and I mean, thank God, it was military, and there's a lot of good guys like the director there. He's in the National Guard, and he knew my family, so everyone really helped me out. Same with my trip, my team leader. I mean, he was Navy, and I mean he helped me out. I went through kind of a real rough time. I had a dark part. I mean, hell, there's a bullet hole in my ceiling. You know what I mean? These guys would check on me and they would adapt with me. I remember when I was going through it, the director pulled me into his office. He goes, "Hey man, I know I've been hearing you're having a hard time on your time off. If you want extra work just to keep you busy, keep your mind going." And I mean, my trip lead, he would stop by my house all the time and just they really Dylan here as a community really helped me out. I was more fortunate than a lot of my brothers getting out. I had an excellent support system here between them
Yeah.
and my family, and I tried to keep a lot from my family when I first got back. I mean, I was more excited than anything to see them, but I didn't want them to see that part. But I mean, everyone here just being home, it really helped me out, pulled me out a little bit. And working with those kids, I mean, they say the best therapy is helping others. And I mean, you see those kids, and I mean, just for the day, the shift that you're there, all you care about is shaping these kids. You know what I mean?
Dillon is a great community. I know I went to undergrad in Dillon, Montana at the University of Montana Western, and whenever something would happen, I remember my freshman year, this kid passed away in a house fire,
Mm-hmm.
um, and just how the community is rallied around that. And there's now a scholarship fund and a fire truck that shows up at all games and just supports the student body and accepts donations for student athletes. And Engine 18 is just a one example of many things that the Dillon community is about. Fast forwarding years later, after you've been home for how long now, Montana?
7 years now, I'd say.
7 years? Okay, yeah. You're not just adjusting to life after combat, but you are thriving, my friend. And you are making meaningful impacts on lives around you. Like you said, it's all about the kids. Wow. You've gone from combat to mentoring to helping veterans heal. And now you're even rodeoing alongside some of the greatest cowboys in Western Montana.
Yep.
Would you say, what would you say to someone who's facing their own unexpected challenge, whether it's an injury, a setback, or a moment of life as they knew it that has changed forever?
And overcome, man. I mean, Don't sit down, you know? As simple as that. I mean, just always find the next mission. What I learned in Ranger School is what we call a PACE plan. You have your primary, alternate, contingency, and emergency plan. So when your main thing fails, you have that backup. If that fails, you have a backup for that. If that fails, hell, you go sleep on mom's couch and figure it out, you know?
Yeah, and I think that is great because so many people in today's world, I'm guilty of it, especially. I hyperfixate on plan A. And if
Yep,
plan A doesn't work out, damn, I get bummed out. But
exactly.
I will eventually overcome it. But I don't ever have a plan B, plan C, plan D figured out. I just hyperfixate on plan A. So I can definitely take that advice and perspective for sure. A lot of
Absolutely.
veterans are struggling leaving the military. In
Mhm.
2017, you went from serving our great country, the United States, on the front lines of Iraq to working with teenagers. You highlighted a little bit earlier, but working with teenagers in the Montana Youth Academy for a total of 4 years.
Mhm.
Talk to me a little bit about that.
You know, everyone keeps saying being a cadre instructor is one of the most high stress jobs there. But I mean, I just got back from Iraq, like, 4 months before I started working there. So I was like, this is nothing. And I tell you what, I mean, you get the group of kids, we're down in acclimation. Acclimation is for 2 weeks. You're in the armory, they're on the cot. And a lot of these kids, they're coming down off the stuff they were taking and, or they've never been away from home. And I mean, we're yelling at them, telling them to be quiet. And so it's a real shock, right? And either they're super scared, they're going to try to run away, they're going to try and fight you, they're going to try and fight each other. And so you just kind of wrangle them in, but then watching them grow. Then we move to the college and they get their own rooms and everything. And then you start splitting them up into like little teams, and they start working together and they start figuring out that instead of working for themselves and working for the platoon, life is so much better when they start becoming best friends there. And I'll be honest with you, I mean, after around month 1 or month 2, they're no longer cadets in my eyes. They're my little brothers. You know what I mean? And so you just want the best. I mean, I'll stay up all night. I'll stay up at night with them, talk to all of them. I'll talk to them about their families, where they have girl problems or if they're worried about the future. Start helping them develop their own pace plan for when they get out. And I mean, and we're not supposed to talk as cadre. Once they graduate, we're supposed to have a year of no contact with them because they develop a dependency on cadre. I kind of break that rule a little bit. Every now and then you like to check up on them.
I'll edit that part out.
Yeah.
That's cool though that you have built a relationship with so many of those kids, and I know just being on Western's campus, I'd see them every day, and because how long is the school? Like 6 months?
6 months. Yep.
Yep, it's about a 6 months program, and from day one, they're just little shit kids. They're crazy. We used to always call them the ish kids.
Oh yeah.
then then come graduation, they're respectful. They call you
Mm-hmm.
sir. They don't shake your hand, but I remember one of them dropped something and I gave it to him and he went out and shook my hand, and I that blew me away because I always had a negative connotation of those kids.
Oh
But
man.
come the end of those 6 months, they are respectable individuals and they are going to be contributing members of society. And
100%.
I think you guys have definitely impacted them in more ways than you know. Even
Yeah.
even the college kids, Montana. I know you've impacted me in my life, and just keeping up with you over the last couple of years. I was a freshman in college back in 2017, so it was your first year at Montana Youth Challenge Academy, and we met at a house party,
Yep.
um, a house after party actually is what it was on Halloween night, and wow, that feels 2017. That's coming up on 10 years.
Make you feel old a little bit, don't
A little bit.
it?
Makes me want to go check for gray hairs or something.
Oh, I already got makes my knee hurt just talking about it.
So fast forward to today, you're doing something completely exactly the same as you were at Montana Youth Challenge Academy, and that's impacting people. And you are now impacting the disabled veterans and helping them heal through fly fishing in Western Montana. No other place in the world where other people want to be than Western Montana when it comes to fly fishing. I know people come worldwide for it. So, talk me about the program Project Healing Waters Fly Fishing and what led you down that path after NYC.
Okay. Well, after about 4 years at the youth challenge, I just kind of started getting burnt out on it. The same drill. And I wanted to do something. I wanted to do something else. All right. So I left the youth challenge, and I was actually planning on going to flight school for helicopter. Went through my physical. I kind of cheated during my physical when the doctor wasn't looking. I switched through the thing, and so I passed. Well, after my first flight, the FAA caught me and they sent me a letter I wasn't allowed to fly.
Yeah, the
uh,
FAA has your records, by the way.
hey, my first flight was awesome. I was able to do a free spin. I could hover for 7 seconds, so it was cool.
7 seconds. Let's go.
Yeah, my buddy's aunt, she was working up there at the Freedom Ranch, and they reached out to me, and they were asking me if I wanted to be their outing coordinator out there. And they're and this is a very prestigious outfit, and so they're talking. I'm an infantryman. I'm not the brightest guy out there, and so first of all, I've never even fly fished. I didn't know anything about fly fishing or anything like that. So at the end of our little interview, she goes, "Do you have any questions for me?" And I go, "Well, I'm not quite sure what to ask, but you're going to pay me to take care of guys like me." She goes, "Yeah." And I'm like, "I'm in."
That is the most infantry question I think I've heard. Yeah, I love it. How many guys
um,
are you working with?
out there, we would get 9 veterans a week for 20 weeks out in the summer. And I mean, it was awesome. I met some guys that were in basic at the same time as me. I met one of my instructors when I was going through the Q course. I ran to one of my heroes. He was a Vietnam veteran, and he was that movie We Were Soldiers.
Yeah.
He was in that battle, and I got to hang out with him, and it was awesome. One day, I just broke my foot on a bronc, and so I'm in my cast, and so we get down to the river to wade. And he's like, I can't walk in that water too good. I was like, hey, me neither. So I put 2 chairs in the river, and we just sat there and he was fishing, and he just told me stories. And it's very rare you get to meet one of your heroes.
That's
And I
incredible,
mean, and
man.
he was just the most humble man. And I mean, he was just a badass.
That is absolutely incredible and inspiring too.
Absolutely. We had a guy come out. His name's Otts Kilcher. He's on that show Alaska Frontier or whatever. Jules' dad, Jewel, her dad. He wrote me and him were talking. He wanted to write an article about me out there, and one of the coolest quotes he wrote out there for me was, when I got out, I got to help kids find their way forward, and then now I get to help veterans find their way back. And that really made my heart happy right there.
That pulls at the heartstrings right there.
Yeah, I was very blessed with that opportunity.
So, what's it like watching those vets, many of them facing their own battles, whether it be in their head or their body, eventually find peace through something as simple as fly fishing?
Oh, I tell you what, I mean, every veteran has their own story, and every veteran heals in their own different way. But I tell you what, man, like especially you hang out with me, I like to think I'm a kind of funny guy. We'll be out there on the river, and we'll be cracking jokes, and like even the darkest stuff, you gotta find the funny, right? You're just out there bullshitting on the river. Next thing you know, you're exchanging war stories, and you're bringing up. I've had Vietnam veterans like start tearing up on me and go, "Wow, I haven't talked about that in years," and here we are laughing about it. And I mean, and it made my heart. And thank God, it's kind of a blessing and a curse, that damn social media. Because I get to keep in contact with a lot of the guys that come out there, and even today, I got 2 text messages from guys I haven't seen in a couple years from out there. I had this Navy SEAL text me today, just checking up on me. And I mean, you form a bond. Whether we may have not served at the same time, and maybe not the same war, but you still have that bond. And I mean, we like to check up on each other all the time, and it's truly amazing.
It's brotherhood, kind of
Exactly.
the essence of this episode. Wow. Are
Absolutely.
they veterans from across the country or are they just in Montana?
From everywhere, all across the country.
Praise
Project
God.
Healing Waters. They have programs all in every state around any major city. And what's cool about them is like, so like their local chapter, the guys will meet up like once a week or once a month, and they'll tie flies or they'll go on little local fishing trips. and then they get their names pulled for like an outing, like say Montana or Louisiana or Belize, even. I was just fortunate to be one of their destination stops. And I tell you what, there's nothing funner than showing up to Montana Airport and have a guy named Montana pick you up.
Hell yeah. That's when they know they're in the right place.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So transitioning to today, I know this last weekend you were at a saddle bronc clinic, and I've got to ask, after all this, you're now in the world of rodeo. How in the
Yeah.
hell did you make that happen?
My family's a big rodeo family. My grandfather was world champion, senior circuit all around. My father won the NFR in bulldogging, and growing up, I always idolized them, and my grandpa would throw me on everything that moved, anything with hair. When I was in the military, I kind of brain dumped a lot of it. When I got back, I didn't even know how to saddle my own horse. I've always wanted to do it, but I never went after it. And after my father passed away about a year or two ago, it clicked in my head like this can't end with me. And I don't have $30,000 for a good bulldogging horse. So I said, screw it, I'm going to grab a saddle and hop on a bronc. And I tell you what, I mean, I'm kind of an adrenaline junkie, and I did ranch bronc last year. I won second in the Valley View series for my very first time, and I broke my foot the first ride. I cracked my sternum. I broke my thumb. I still won second though. I just got addicted to it, and so the next step above that is saddle bronc. And my grandfather, he was a big saddle bronc. He rode broncs into his 60s, and I just want to try to keep it going. I tell my buddies, they always say, "Aren't you a little old to be start doing this?" And I always tell them like, "Well, I broke myself for the government so many times. It's time for me to break myself for me."
Very true. Very true. And like I said, it'll feel better once it quits hurting. But if you're going to be dumb, you better
Exactly.
be tough.
I'll tell you what, I'm definitely feeling 36 right now. I only got on 4 times, but I'm beat to hell right now, and I love it.
I see the 36 in you. There's a little bit of gray on your chin.
Hey now.
But the Reynolds last name in the Dillon area is huge. You talked about living a legacy of your father as well as your grandfather. What is something that you want to teach the next generation?
I'd say follow your dreams. And honestly, and I think nothing's more important than family. You know, friends come and go, but blood is thicker than water.
Family's always going to be there through the ups and the
Exactly.
downs.
Exactly.
Like I said earlier, it's like you've lived 5 different lives and you're still pushing forward. What is next for Montana Reynolds?
Well, after 3 years working with that veterans program, this last summer was my last summer there. And before I get too old, I'm going to commit to rodeo this season. So I'm going to hop on as many broncs as I can. And like I said, until I break. Thank God I'm retired because I'm not that good.
Man, I give you props. A lot of people don't know this about me, but I am deathly afraid of horses. I don't know why. I've ridden on them before. We did a trail ride in Sun Canyon up in
Hmm.
Augusta, but ever since high school, I've been afraid of horses. I don't know why. They're just
Hey,
big. I'm scared to get bucked off, but you're doing it for fun.
yeah. I mean, it happened. I mean, I'm scared of heights, and I jumped out of planes for 6 years. And the way we always said, either you're going to be okay or it's not your problem anymore.
That's true. Montana, before we wrap up, I just want to give you the floor. There's veterans out there who are struggling, maybe feeling lost. What is something that you want to say to them? Maybe some words of encouragement or a message of hope.
To all my brothers and sisters out there, no matter how hard this life gets, and no matter how many pills the VA throws on you, nothing heals you better than getting together with another bro and just talking and just joking about it. Someone who knows what you're going through, someone who's experienced it with you. There's always the next mission. Giving up ain't the answer. We were taught to never quit and always accomplish the mission. We need to keep that up. And hell, if any of you guys out there who listen to this, if you ever feel down, just come to Dillon, Montana, and ask for Montana Reynolds, and I'll show you a good time.
That you will. The Metlin is, I don't know, do you still go to the Met?
I think I'm 86 from there.
Yeah, I'm surprised I'm not 86 from there.
Well, I'm definitely too old to be in that place.
Yeah, yeah. Well, man, I'm going to say a couple words here and then we'll get you out of here. I appreciate you stopping by. Your journey, Montana, is nothing short of remarkable. From the front lines of war to going blind in your right eye to finding a new sense of purpose, you've shown what true resilience truly looks like. And what stands out to me is how you've used your challenges to build something bigger than yourself. There's a song out there by Tim McGraw called Humble and Kind. And I
Mm-hmm.
try to live by this. And the last sentence of it goes, when you get where you're going, don't forget to turn back around and help the next one in line. Always stay
Absolutely.
humble and kind. And
Absolutely.
that just came to my mind after having this conversation with you, Montana. So awesome, dude. But keep going. I'm proud of you.
Sure will.
So,
Catch me on the news on the rodeo.
or in the hospital.
Or in the hospital.
But whether it was forming that strong brotherhood with his brothers in arms or helping guide troubled teens at the Montana Youth Challenge Academy, Montana has always had a sense of responsibility for others. And that is so beautiful. That selflessness to drive, to be a positive force in someone else's life, that is the heart of what makes his story so powerful. The brotherhood is something that runs deep in Montana's story. From the battlefield to the community of Dillon, or even the community that he's built with his veterans and teens. He's showing that real strength from standing shoulder to shoulder with others, that's where it truly comes from. The way that he was able to turn his pain and struggles into something that heals others, that is a true, powerful reminder for us all that it's easy for us to feel alone or to think that our battles are too big to overcome. But Montana's story is proof that when we lean on each other, we can get through anything. Just like he built that brotherhood in the military in Iraq, he continued to build it every stage of his life, whether it's with fellow veterans, at risk teens, or even the rodeo world. The strength that comes from being part of a community is something that we can all take away from Montana's journey. And for you, the listener, I want you to slow down and think about where brotherhood plays a role in your everyday life. Maybe it's your friends, your family, or even a community you found after a struggle. We all have the ability to create those strong, supportive bonds that push us through the challenges. Sometimes it's the people we surround ourselves with that help us keep going, even when the road ahead feels impossible. It's been so incredible to hear about Montana's journey of service and sacrifice. And now he's evolved into giving back to others, whether it's through helping fellow veterans heal or guiding troubled teens towards a better path. He's continued to make a difference wherever he goes. His story reminds us no matter what we've been through, there's always an opportunity to turn around and offer our strength to others. When you face challenges yourself, you understand supporting someone else who's going through their own battle. So before we dive into some words of wisdoms from Proverbs, I want to just pause and really appreciate the lessons here today. The strength, the resilience, and the brotherhood that Montana has exemplified. It's all about finding purpose in our struggles, reaching out to others in need, and creating a lasting change through action. His story resonates with us all because at some point, we've all needed someone to lean on. And we've all had the opportunity to be that person for someone else. But it's up to us to take that step forward and be that person instead of just thinking about it. Like I said, now let's take a moment to reflect on the power of wisdom and how it can guide us through even the toughest times. I want to dive into a verse from Proverbs in the Holy Bible, which is Proverbs 27 and 17. Because in life, we often hear that we should surround ourselves with people who challenge us, who push us forward to be better. And there's a reason for that. The people we keep close, the brothers we rely on, the friends we lean on, they all play a huge role in shaping who we become. It's not always about comfort, but it's about growth. And sometimes through the friction, just like the verse of the week talks to us about in Proverbs 27:17, it states, iron sharpens iron, so as one person sharpens another. Let me repeat that. Iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. I should think about that for a second. Iron sharpening iron. When two pieces of metal grind against each other, it will create sparks, will create friction, and sometimes even discomfort. But what's the result? One piece becomes sharper, more refined, more effective. In the same way, we sharpen each other through our challenges, through conversation, through pushing one another to step outside our comfort zones and become the very best versions of ourselves, the one that ultimately God has called us to be. When we think about brotherhood, we often imagine the bond between people who have been through the thick and thin together, people who understand each other on a deeper level. Brotherhood isn't just about standing side by side during good times. It's also about being there during hard times too. It's about challenging each other to grow and to rise above the obstacles that life throws at us. When we're in the trenches of life, whether it's fighting literal battles like our military or the more personal battles we face in our own daily struggles, it is so easy to feel like we're on your own, but you're not. Having a brother by your side, someone who encourages you and holds you accountable and ultimately challenges you, that can make all the difference in the world. And in turn, we have the ability to be that brother for somebody else. Being part of a brotherhood is not about having all the answers all the time. It's about willing to walk beside someone and to sit there and help them find their way, to help them become stronger, just like iron sharpens iron. It's about challenging each other to rise above the limitations we place on ourselves and become the people that we were truly meant to be. So, as we go through life, let's remember the power of brotherhood. Let's embrace the discomfort that comes with growth, and let's never underestimate the impact that we can have on somebody else's journey. Because when we all sharpen each other, we all become stronger. We all become better. And that's something worth striving for. So, as we wrap up today, I just want to take a moment to reflect on the incredible journey that we just heard. Montana's story is more than just about military service or overcoming physical challenges. It's about brotherhood, resilience, and finding purpose in the midst of adversity. Whether it's in the heat of battle, the struggles of adapting to civilian life, or the quiet moments healing through something as simple as fly fishing. Montana's experiences have reminded us that we're never truly alone when we have a strong brotherhood by our side. What I found most inspiring today is how Montana turned his pain and struggles into something that helps others. Through his time at the Montana Youth Challenge Academy, he built a brotherhood, guiding troubled teams towards a better path in life. Then, through Project Healing Waters, he's helped fellow veterans heal and find peace, and showing that sometimes the best way to heal is by helping others. It's proof that when we take the time to invest in someone else and take our eyes off of ourselves, we often find healing in our own lives as well. This brings us to a powerful lesson. Helping others along the way isn't just an act of kindness, it's a transformative process that shifts focus from just surviving our own battles to actively making a difference in the lives of people around us. Whether it's offering guidance, lending a hand, or simply showing up when someone needs you, these acts create a lasting impact. And although they may seem small to you, trust me, those people will remember them. I read a quote a long time ago. I'm trying to remember it. It goes, "People don't remember the words you say or what you did, but they will remember the way you made them feel." And that has always stood out to me. This conversation has been a powerful reminder that true strength comes from not just facing our own battles, but from standing beside others and helping them through theirs. We all have the power to sharpen one another, to push each other to be better, and to find new purpose, even in the most difficult situations. Before we close out, I want to give you a little teaser in the next week's episode. We have another incredible guest coming onto the show who has an equally inspiring story of resilience. Their journey is one of overcoming obstacles, rediscovering purpose, and finding strength through support and self-belief. You're not going to want to miss it. So, thank you for tuning in today. I hope that Montana's story has inspired you as much as it has inspired me. If you know someone who could benefit from this conversation, feel free to share it with them. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And until next time, remember the power of brotherhood. Keep pushing forward and challenging yourself. And ultimately, keep sharpening one another. Stay tuned for next week's episode. It's going to be one you don't want to miss. This has been The Stories That Shape Us, where we hear real stories, real growth, and real impact. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.